You think you can silence me, but you're just another corrupt official in a robe. I won't stand for this.
Providence Municipal Court, Tuesday morning, just before 10 o'clock. A 17-year-old girl walked through the heavy wooden doors with her eyes locked on her phone screen. Designer jeans, a crop top that probably cost more than most weekly paychecks, and a Louis Vuitton bag swinging from her shoulder. AirPods in both ears. She was chewing gum like she had all the time in the world, treating the courthouse like it was a coffee shop waiting area. This was Madison Elizabeth Pierce. She attended St. Catherine's Academy, where annual tuition ran around $40,000. Both her parents worked as attorneys at well-known downtown firms. She had built a TikTok following of 47,000 people who watched her post about luxury purchases and what she called rich girl problems. And right now, she seemed completely unaware that she was about to experience something very different from what she expected. I am Frederick, and I walk through these courtroom stories because they show us something we don't always see in everyday life. What happens when someone's assumptions about how the world works get tested in a place where those assumptions don't hold much weight? This one stayed with me for a while. If you've ever wondered what accountability actually looks like when it's applied without shortcuts, go ahead and hit the like button, because this story goes places most people don't expect. The bailiff called her case number Madison Elizabeth Pierce, case number 2025-TF-8847. Madison didn't look up. Her mother, sitting in a gallery wearing a tailored suit, whispered her name urgently. Madison sighed, loud enough for people nearby to hear, and walked toward the front. She didn't take out her AirPods. She didn't put away her phone. She kept chewing her gum. Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his paperwork with the kind of patience that comes from decades on the bench. He asked her to approach. Madison shuffled forward, still scrolling. The judge waited. The whole courtroom waited. Everyone could see the glow of the screen reflecting on her face. He asked for her attention. Madison glanced up for half a second and said, "Yeah? What?" A few people in the gallery reacted immediately. Someone gasped softly. An older man shook his head. Even the court reporter paused. The judge's tone didn't change, but something in the room shifted. He told her she was in a court of law and needed to put her phone away and remove her earphones. Madison sighed again, louder this time, and pulled out one AirPod. Just one. The other stayed in. She set her phone on the podium in front of her, screen still glowing with notifications. Then she said, "Can we make this quick? I have a nail appointment at 2. I'll be honest, I've read through a lot of courtroom reports, and that moment stands out. There's a difference between being nervous and being dismissive, and what happened next made it clear which one this was. The judge asked if she understood why she was there. Madison picked at her manicure and said, "Speeding ticket. Whatever, my parents will pay it." He opened the file in front of him and explained that this wasn't just a speeding ticket. She had been clocked at 85 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour school zone during dismissal time. Madison shrugged. "So, I didn't hit anyone." The judge's voice stayed calm, but there was a weight to it now. He told her she nearly hit a crossing guard, a 68-year-old woman named Mrs. Chen, who had to jump out of the way. Madison's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then picked it up and started typing. Her mother stood from the gallery and tried to apologize, saying Madison was under stress from college applications. Madison didn't even turn around. She told her mum to stop, that it was embarrassing, and asked if they could just pay the fine so she could leave. The courtroom went quiet. Not the kind of quiet where people are paying attention, but the kind that follows when someone crosses a line they don't see. Judge Caprio stood slowly. When he stands, people in that courthouse know something serious is about to happen. He told Madison to put the phone down. Now. Madison looked up, finally registering something in his tone. She set it down, but didn't turn it over. The screen kept glowing between them. The judge remained standing and asked her to remove her other earphone. Madison rolled her eyes, fully visible to everyone, and pulled out the second AirPod. She dropped both into her purse with exaggerated movements that made it clear she found this inconvenient. Then she said, "Happy?" The word landed with such contempt that even her own father, sitting beside her mother, dropped his head into his hands. The judge said no, he wasn't happy, and before they went any further, she needed to understand something. This courtroom wasn't a suggestion. The law wasn't a suggestion, and the respect she showed here wasn't optional. Madison stared at him, still chewing that gum in slow, defiant circles. She said, "Whatever you say, Judge." Here's a question I think about sometimes. At what point does someone realise that the rules they've been ignoring their whole life actually apply to them? Because what happened next showed that Madison hadn't reached that point yet. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from and whether you think moments like this change people or just scare them temporarily. The judge sat back down and started going through her driving record. 6 citations in 18 months. 6 tickets since she got her license. Madison inspected her nails and said, "So, my parents paid all of them. That's what money is for, right?" The gallery erupted in whispers. Someone near the back muttered something about entitled kids. Judge Caprio raised his hand and the room went silent immediately. He told her that money wasn't for erasing consequences. It wasn't a shield against accountability. Her previous violations included 3 parking citations, 1 reckless driving charge that had been reduced, and 2 speeding tickets. Every single one had been paid immediately by her parents. He asked if she had personally paid for any of them. Madison shrugged. "Why would I? I don't have a job. I'm a student." The judge asked whose fault that was. Madison didn't answer. She had pulled out a compact mirror and was checking her lipstick. He told her to put it away. She snapped it shut with a click that echoed through the room and said, "This is ridiculous. Can we just get to the part where you tell me the fine? I literally have places to be." Her mother stood again, voice shaking, trying to explain that Madison was just nervous. Madison spun around and told her mum to stop talking, that she was making it worse, and to sit down. Her mother's face went pale. She sat slowly, and for the first time, tears formed in her eyes. Her father wouldn't even look up. His hands were clenched so tight, his knuckles had gone white. The judge's voice dropped lower, quieter, but somehow stronger. He said he was going to tell her something, and she needed to listen carefully. Every person who came through that courtroom had a story. Some were struggling to make ends meet. Some made genuine mistakes. Some were there because life dealt them a hard hand. And then there were people like her. People who treated the law like an inconvenience. People who believed their parents' money made them untouchable. Madison finally turned back to face him and said, "Are you done with the speech? Because I've heard this before. From principals, from counsellors, from my parents. It's always the same lecture about responsibility and consequences. And you know what? I'm tired of it." The room went so quiet you could hear the clock ticking on the wall. The judge repeated her words slowly. "You're tired of it." He let them settle. Then he brought up Mrs. Chen, the crossing guard, who had been tired too. Tired from working a 12-hour shift. Tired from standing in the cold, helping children cross safely. And then Madison came around that corner at 85 miles per hour and nearly ended her life. Madison scoffed. "But I didn't hit her, so why are we acting like I committed murder?" The prosecutor stood and asked to call Officer Rodriguez to testify. The officer took the stand, a 15-year veteran with a crisp uniform and military posture. She described what she witnessed that afternoon. She had been conducting speed enforcement near Franklin Elementary during dismissal time when she saw a black BMW travelling at high speed toward a marked crosswalk where Mrs. Chen was helping students cross. Mrs. Chen had stepped into the crosswalk with her stop sign raised. 3 children were waiting. The BMW didn't slow down. Mrs. Chen saw it coming and had to jump backward. She dropped her sign. One of the children started crying because Mrs. Chen fell. The officer said the crossing guard was 68 years old and could have been seriously injured or killed. Madison's phone buzzed on the podium. Without thinking, she picked it up. The judge's voice cut through the air. "Miss Pierce, put that phone down immediately." Madison looked up, startled. "What? It's just a text." "I said, put it down." She set it down, but her face showed pure defiance. "God, okay, calm down." The officer continued. She had pursued the vehicle, which didn't stop for 3 more blocks. When she approached the car, Madison was filming her on her phone. The prosecutor asked to show the body camera footage. The courtroom saw it all. Madison recording the officer, saying it would go on TikTok, calling her officer Karen, claiming she was power tripping. When asked for her license and registration, Madison asked if the officer knew who her parents were. said they were attorneys, that the officer was making a huge mistake. She tossed her license at the officer. It fell on the ground. When told she'd been going 85 in a 35 school zone and nearly struck a crossing guard, Madison laughed and said, "She didn't get hit though, so like, what's the problem? You people are so dramatic. My dad is going to destroy your career for harassment." The footage ended. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. Then the prosecutor brought up Madison's social media. Her TikTok account, public with 47,000 followers. Videos from before the court date and after the incident. In one, she talked about having court the next day for literally nothing. About some old crossing guard being mad because she drove near her or whatever. In another, posted days after the incident, she sat in her BMW and said, "When you almost hit a crossing guard, but your parents are lawyers." The text overlay read, "Above the law," with sparkle emojis. The gallery erupted. Someone said, "Are you kidding me?" Another voice cut through, sharp and angry. "She's mocking that poor woman." Madison's face went pale. Then a soft voice came from the gallery. An elderly woman stood, small, barely 5 feet tall, silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore a crossing guard uniform, the yellow vest still on. She held a stop sign. This was Mrs. Chen. Judge Caprio's expression softened immediately. He invited her to come forward. She walked slowly to the witness stand and was sworn in. She spoke quietly, her English careful and accented. She had been a crossing guard for 12 years. She loved the children. Some of her own grandchildren went to that school. That day during dismissal, very busy with many cars, she stepped into the crosswalk with her sign up. She looked both ways like always. Then she saw the black car come in, very fast, too fast. Her voice broke slightly. She tried to wave her sign, thinking maybe the driver didn't see her, but the car kept coming, not slowing down. She jumped back, but she wasn't a young woman anymore. She was 68. She fell. Her sign dropped. The children screamed. One little girl started crying because she thought Mrs. Chen was hurt. Mrs. Chen wiped her eyes. She said she was so scared. She thought that was how she would die, hit by a car, doing her job, trying to protect children. She described her injuries, a bruised hip from falling. Her doctor said she was lucky nothing broke. But the injury that didn't go away was in her heart. She couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the headlights, heard the engine. For 1 week, she couldn't go back to work. Her granddaughter asked her why she was crying at dinner. How do you explain to an 8-year-old that someone almost killed her grandmother and that person didn't care? Mrs. Chen turned to look directly at Madison. She said she had seen the videos. Her granddaughter showed her. She asked why that girl was laughing. Didn't her life matter? Her voice rose slightly, emotion breaking through. She worked 3 jobs to raise her family. She came to America with nothing. She worked every day, paid her taxes, followed every rule. And Madison had everything. Nice car, nice clothes, nice family, but no respect. Not for her, not for the law, not for life itself. The judge asked what she wanted to see happen. Mrs. Chen looked at Madison again and said she didn't want revenge. She wasn't an angry person. She just wanted Madison to understand. Life is precious. Every life. Even hers. Even the life of an old immigrant woman in a yellow vest. She mattered too. As Mrs. Chen walked past Madison after stepping down, she paused and said quietly, "I forgive you, but you must forgive yourself by doing better." The judge asked Madison what she had to say. Madison took a breath, looking like she was wrestling with herself. Then she said, "Look, I'm sorry she got scared, but I didn't actually hit her, so this whole thing is kind of blown out of proportion." The courtroom exploded. Judge Caprio's gavel came down hard 3 times. He told Madison that was possibly the most tone-deaf, callous response he'd heard in 37 years on the bench. Madison's face flushed. "I don't have time for this guilt trip. I said I'm sorry. What else do you want? You want me to cry? I'm not going to cry over a mistake." Her mother stood, begging her to stop talking. Madison whirled around and told her no, that her parents always said to stand up for herself, not let people push her around, and that's what she was doing. Her father finally spoke, strained and exhausted. telling her this wasn't the time. Madison ignored him. She turned back to the judge and something dangerous flashed in her eyes. She said the whole thing was ridiculous, that he was treating her like a criminal because she was young and he was old and didn't understand how life works now. The bailiff stepped closer. The judge told her to stop talking right now. This was her final warning. Madison laughed, short and bitter. Or what? You'll fine me more? My parents will just write another check. That's how this works. That's how it's always worked. You can't actually do anything to me. Judge Caprio stood. Miss Pierce, you are perilously close to being held in contempt of court. Madison's phone buzzed. Without thinking, running on pure instinct, she picked it up. Her thumbs moved across the screen. She was checking a text. While the judge was speaking to her, while being warned about contempt. Put that phone down. Madison glanced up, distracted. What? It's just Kayla. I said put that phone down. Now. She set it on the podium. God, okay, relax. It's not that serious. The judge's next words were measured. Miss Pierce, you have just demonstrated complete contempt for this court, for the legal process, and for every person in this room. Madison crossed her arms. Whatever. Are we done here? Can I go? No, we are not done. In fact, we are just beginning. Madison rolled her eyes. Then she made a decision that defined everything that followed. She pulled her phone back up, held it at arm's length, angled it to capture her face, and took a selfie right there in open court while the judge was addressing her. Duck face. The camera sound chirped in the silence. The courtroom erupted. People stood, shouting. Her mother screamed her name. The judge's gavel crashed down repeatedly. He ordered the bailiff to confiscate the phone immediately. Madison clutched it to her chest. No, you can't do that. That's my property. The bailiff removed it from her hands. Madison's voice went shrill. Give it back. I need that. My whole life is on that phone. Judge Caprio's voice was colder than anyone had heard it. Miss Pierce, you have just committed contempt of court in the most blatant manner I have witnessed in my entire career. Madison's bravado wavered. I want my phone back. That is not your concern right now. Your concern should be the fact that you're about to face serious legal consequences. She laughed, but fear was underneath it now. What are you going to do? Give me a bigger fine? My parents are literally attorneys. They'll appeal whatever you do. My dad golfs with judges. The judge leaned forward. I don't need to scare you, Miss Pierce. I need to hold you accountable. You wouldn't dare do anything real. This is just theatre. The next words landed like thunder. Bailiff, prepare to take Miss Pierce into custody. Madison blinked. Wait, what do you mean custody? I'm placing you in contempt of court. You will be taken into custody immediately. Her face went white. Wait, what? Like arrested? Her father was on his feet. Your Honour, please, she's just a child. The judge looked at him. Mr. Pierce, your daughter is 17 years old. In a few months, she'll be legally an adult. She drives a $50,000 car. She has nearly 50,000 people following her online. She presents herself as mature enough to mock the legal system publicly. She cannot be a child when it's convenient and an adult when it suits her. Madison's breathing got faster. This is insane. You can't arrest me. The judge stated the facts clearly. She took a selfie in his courtroom while he was addressing her. She used her phone multiple times after being told to put it away. She showed contempt for a victim who nearly lost her life. She mocked the court on social media. She threatened a police officer, and she showed absolutely no remorse. The bailiff moved closer. Madison looked around wildly. No one moved to help. Mrs. Chen sat quietly, her face sad but steady. Madison's parents held each other. The prosecutor stood with arms crossed. Your Honour, please, Madison's voice cracked. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. You've had multiple opportunities to show remorse, Miss Pierce. You chose defiance every single time. She saw the bailiff approaching and panic flooded her face. No, please, I'll do better. I promise. I'll delete the videos. I'll apologise. Please don't do this. The judge's voice carried the weight of decades. Miss Pierce, You walked into this courtroom believing your privilege made you untouchable. You are about to learn a very difficult lesson. The bailiff produced handcuffs. Madison's eyes went wide. Wait, what? You can't! I'm sorry! I'm really sorry! You had ample opportunity to demonstrate remorse. Instead, you chose mockery, defiance, and disrespect at every turn. The metal cuffs clicked into place. The sound echoed through the silent room. Madison's purse fell and hit the floor. Designer sunglasses spilled across the tile. Her mother sobbed. Madison was crying openly now. Makeup destroyed, composure shattered. What's going to happen to me? The judge told her exactly what would happen. 48 hours in county juvenile detention, effective immediately. For the original charge, the maximum penalty. A $1,500 fine that she, not her parents, would pay through employment. 120 hours of community service at Franklin Elementary, working alongside Mrs. Chen as a crossing guard assistant. License suspended for 6 months. Mandatory safe driving course, 1 year of probation with monthly check-ins. Additionally, a handwritten apology to Mrs. Chen subject to court approval. Removal of all social media posts mocking the incident. Attendance at a victim impact panel. And any violation of probation will result in 30 days in juvenile detention. Do you understand these terms? Madison nodded, unable to speak. I need a verbal response, Miss Pierce. Yes, I understand. The judge's voice softened slightly, not with sympathy, but with something closer to sad wisdom. This is not about punishment for punishment's sake. This is about giving you an opportunity that your parents' money has denied you your entire life. The opportunity to face real consequences. The opportunity to understand that your actions affect other people. The opportunity to become a better person than the one who walked into this courtroom today. Madison was led toward the side door. Her mother rushed forward, but the bailiff held up a hand. You'll be able to see her after processing, ma'am. Madison looked back one last time, face covered in tears, and something that might finally be understanding. I'm sorry, she whispered. The door closed with a heavy sound. If you believe that the law should apply the same way to everyone, regardless of how much money they have or who their parents are, go ahead and subscribe to Frederick Explains Court. Because stories like this remind us why courtrooms exist in the first place. The judge addressed the courtroom. What they witnessed that day brought him no joy. He had been on the bench for 37 years, and sending a teenager to detention wasn't something he did lightly. But justice couldn't have two standards, one for the wealthy and one for everyone else. The law had to apply equally, or it meant nothing at all. He looked at Madison's parents. He told them their daughter wasn't a bad person, but she had been set on a path toward becoming one. They had given her every material advantage, but failed to give her the most important gift parents could provide: boundaries, consequences, accountability. The father nodded, face buried in his hands. The mother looked up with red, swollen eyes and asked what they should do now. The judge told them to let her experience these consequences. Don't bail her out. Don't hire expensive lawyers to make it disappear. Let her sit in that facility for 48 hours and think. Let her work alongside Mrs. Chen and learn what dignity looks like. Let her pay her own fine and understand the value of money earned through work. And most importantly, examine your own role in creating the young woman who walked in here today. Mrs. Chen stood slowly. She said she meant what she said. She forgave Madison, but forgiveness didn't mean no consequences. Her granddaughter was watching. All the children at Franklin Elementary were watching. They needed to see that actions matter, that kindness matters, that life matters. She hoped Madison would learn, truly, because the world needed good people, not careless people. The gavel fell one final time. People filed out slowly. Madison's parents remained seated, holding each other. Mrs. Chen walked past them and paused. She touched the mother's shoulder gently and said, "She will be okay. This is not the end. It is the beginning." 2 days later, Madison walked out of juvenile detention. Reports said she was quiet, subdued, visibly changed. She began her community service the following week, standing beside Mrs. Chen at the crosswalk, helping children cross safely. Her social media went private. The offensive posts were deleted. 3 weeks later, she hand-delivered a 4-page letter to Mrs. Chen. Witnesses said both women cried as they embraced. Madison's parents enrolled the family in counselling. Her college applications were affected, but she was ultimately accepted to her second choice school with delayed enrollment pending completion of her probation. 6 months later, Madison returned for her final probation check-in. She wore simple clothes, no designer labels. She approached the bench with humility and respect. She thanked the judge quietly. That day, she thought he was ruining her life. Now she understood he was saving it. He asked how Mrs. Chen was. Madison's face lit up. She said Mrs. Chen was amazing, that she was teaching her Mandarin, that Madison helped with her grandkids sometimes. She said she never understood what it meant to earn respect until she met her. The judge told her she came as a girl who thought she was untouchable. She was leaving as a young woman who understood that being touchable, being vulnerable, being accountable, that's what makes us human. Go forward and do good things. Madison Pierce's story reminds us that justice isn't about destroying people, it's about rebuilding them. That consequences, when applied with wisdom, can change lives. And that sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones we need most. Judge Frank Caprio showed once again that real authority doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be fair, firm and steady. Where are you watching from? Comment below if this story stayed with you.